Hey guys, welcome back to Revealing Biblical Truths. In this video, we'll be covering Jubilees Chapters 35 through 39. Don't forget to smash the like button, turn on notifications, subscribe, and share. In the last video, we went over chapters 30 to 34, where I talked about the destruction of Shechem and the adventures of the children of Yasharel. In this section, we'll be looking at the battle between the sons of Jacob and Esau and Joseph's early times in Egypt. In chapter 35, Rivkah calls Yaakov to her and wanted to pronounce her blessings on him, saying that she sensed her days of life were coming to an end. Yaakov laughed because she was 155 years old and had never been sick before. She went to Isaac and asked him to talk to Esau and begged that he not fight with Jacob or try to kill him. Isaac agreed and said before this Esau was his favorite, but then realized that all of the evil temperament that he had and that he had done, and that Jacob was more righteous. Then they call in Esau and make him promise not to injure Esau. Esau promises to obey his parents, and they bless him, and then Rivkah dies. In chapter 36, Yitzhak was nearing death and called his two sons near. Isaac tells them to both practice righteousness and love each other. He says that if either of them does any evil to his brother, that man would fall into the other's hands and be subject to them. In verse 10, there is something very interesting. It says that the one who is evil will be blotted out of the book of life, and it also mentions that fire will be used to destroy them in that day of judgment. This mention of the book of life is only found in two other places, one of those being in Philippians and the other Revelation. There is no mention of this book of life in the Old Testament or the Tanakh. He continued by dividing up the assets among his brothers and said that the tower of Abraham and the land belonged to Esau. But Esau said he gave his birthright to Jacob, and he gave him the land and the tower. After Isaac finished blessing and commanding them, he fell asleep, being 180 years old. Following this, Esau dwelt in the mountains of Seir, and Jacob dwelt in the tower of Abraham. Later it says that Leah died, and also Jacob buried her in the cave of Machpelah. In chapter 37, the sons of Esau had heard about him giving up his portion to Jacob, and they were angry with him. Esau reminded them of selling his birthright, as well as what Isaac had said regarding not doing evil to his brother, and the consequences of going against what he promised. But his sons didn't listen, and wanted to devise a plan to gather armies to battle against Jacob. But their father Esau warned them not to do it, and that they would fall if they tried. But they went ahead anyways with their plans, and gathered thousands of soldiers from the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Philistines, the Edomites, the Horites, and the Hittites to make war with Jacob. They told their father to take the lead and fight, or else they would kill him as well. Esau started to get angry with his sons, but then also remembered what Jacob had done to him, and forgot his oath, and he went and marched with the 4,000 men up to the tower. Meanwhile, Jacob was still mourning Leah, and didn't know that Esau was approaching. The men of Hebron told Jacob what was happening, and Jacob went out to see, and when he saw Esau, he shouted out to him, asking him if he was going to fight and break the oath that he took. Esau said people do evil every day, and their brotherhood means nothing. He continued trash-talking Jacob, and then Jacob realized he was going to be attacked, so he gathered his men for attack also. His son Judah told him to bend his bow back and shoot an arrow at Esau and slay him as an adversary, because this is what Esau wished to do. So Jacob shot an arrow, and it hit Esau and killed him. And after that, he slung another arrow and killed one of the other leaders of the group. After this, the sons of Jacob divided up into companies and set out on all four sides of the tower to attack the enemies. They killed a bunch of them, and 4 of the sons of Esau fled the battle, leaving their father slain there. Then Jacob buried his brother on the hill of Aduram, while his sons pursued the sons of Esau all the way to Mount Seir. After that, they asked Jacob if they should kill them or make them submit, and he said to just make peace with them. And from then on they were subservient to Jacob, and they continued to pay tribute until Jacob went out into Egypt. It then goes on to list the kings of Edom, which were all before there were any kings in Yasharel. Balak the son of Beor, who was the son of Laban, then Jobab, who was also Job from the book of Job, and then Asam, Adath, Salmon, Shaul, Baalanun, and finally Adath. In chapter 39, Joseph is taken into Egypt and sold to Potiphar, the chief cook of the Pharaoh. Potiphar set him over all his house, and it is said that his appearance was handsome. So Potiphar's wife desired Joseph to lay with her, but he refused because he remembered the words of Abraham that this was a grievous sin to lie with a married woman, and that it was punishable by death. She tried to seduce him for over a year, but he kept refusing. Finally, she was able to hold on to him, but he fled and left his garment. Being angry, she plotted against him and told her husband that it was he who tried to take advantage of her. So Joseph was put into prison. And while he was in prison, Yah prospered him, and he correctly interpreted the dreams of the butler and the baker. But the butler forgot Joseph after he was out of prison. In chapter 40, Pharaoh has two dreams. One was about fat and lean cows, and the other about fat and lean ears of corn. He had no one to interpret the dream, but then the butler remembered Joseph, and Pharaoh talked about him. So Pharaoh called for him, and he interpreted the dream. And it was there that there would be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine in the land. So Pharaoh appointed Joseph to be in charge of collecting the grain for the years of famine. Pharaoh appointed Joseph to be second in command, and gave him a chariot also. So Joseph walked in righteousness and favor with the people, and there was peace in the land. Joseph was given to wife the daughter of Potiphar, called Asenath, whose name means belongs to her father. On that day Joseph stood before Pharaoh, and he was 30 years of age. And this, along with many other events in the life of Joseph, parallels the life of Yahusha, who began his ministry at age 30 also. Following this, the 7 years of plenty happened, and Joseph gathered the grain in every city, and there was so much that they lost count. And that ends chapter 40. Thank you for watching, and until next time, Shalom.